Not only in analytics project, even if you take any data engineering project, this is one of the common operation or task that we perform it. Even in the case of data engineering or analytics project, this is a commonly performing task. We append the data from multiple files. The objective is we want to combine multiple file data in a single file, and merge is kind of a join. We join data from multiple files. So here we combine multiple files in a single file. Okay, or sometimes what will happen is we'll be combining multiple files on a periodic basis, and on periodically we will be accumulating the data. For example, every week data you will consolidating it at the end of the week, Monday through Sunday, Monday through Saturday data you will be combining and putting it in a single file on Sunday, so that that 5 or 6 day data will be there in that file. Okay, what every week, likewise every week, Sunday, let's say you are combining that specific week's data in a single file. And for at the end of each month or at the beginning of each month, you will be combining all the week's data into a single file. Okay, so that's how we will be doing it. But again, it depends on the requirement. Okay, depends. Sometimes ad hoc requirements will come. In that case, to understand the business performance, you will have to combine multiple files into single file. Okay, so now using in the case of merge also, we do the same operation. We combine multiple files into a single file. But in this case, what we do is we will be using the common columns to join the tables. The key difference here is, we will see it little later. At first, let us understand what exactly Append is all about. You combine multiple rows or multiple files into a single file. That's it. It's as simple as that. If you see here, let's say you have two files or the data files, file 1 and file 2. Simply what you do is you take the file 2's data and then put it in a single file. File 1 and file 2 content will go into single file. You just push this up, and if you see that, if you push this up, what will happen? Remove the column header. What you will see? The same thing you are seeing here. Simply you are combining data from two files. You just take the second file's data and you make it part of the first file. So after Panasonic, Canon, Nikon. So these records were added here, right? Okay, this is what is Append is all about. And the next one is, like I said, in the real world scenario, every week, daily sales, week 1, day 1, day 2, day 7. The week sale, they will put it in a single file week 1, and again, the 8th day to 14th day, they'll put it in week 2. They combine all the days, weekdays data into week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then they will. Sometimes what they will do is they will be doing it once in fortnight, every once in 15 days, probably 1 to 15 days, they'll put it in a file. It depends on the requirement. End of the day, append is nothing but this one. Simply you are appending the data from one file to another file. Okay. The next one is, so first we'll see how we can perform append in the Power Query editor. So what I will do, in Power BI desktop, end of the day, we'll be doing Power Query editor only. But what I'm doing is I'm going to select the text to CSV connector. We'll go here, and here I just say append. No, append is not there here. Even the data file name also, I kept it this way, append or something, append 1.xls, open. It will take some time to load. Let's wait for some time. This is the data available in that file, first file. Okay, and I just hit the load button. I'm opening another file and append 2. Hit the load button. I just say week 1. Let's assume that this is a week 1 data are available in that file. Here we have week 2 file data is available here. I just rename the files with the meaningful name. Week 1, week 2. Okay. So the data is available. We will just go and check the data in here. Okay. So all the data are available here. If you see here, the product sales currency date, product sales currency date, product sales currency date is available. But here the naming standard is different. Instead of date, date 1 is there. So what will happen is still it will work. But if you see here, 5 columns are there, whereas here you have only 4 columns are there. Okay, still it will work. What will happen is any column, for example, the location column that is not available here, whereas it is available here. In that case, what will happen in addition to the 4 columns, the location column will also get added here, included. But since we don't have any values for the location column, it will put null, null, null here. And similarly, what will happen is here the date 1 column will be considered as a separate column. It is not right. So the date. So what will happen is we'll end up 5 and 6 columns. The date 1, because the date 1 is not available here. And but the according to us, you know very well the date 1 and the date, both of them are same. How Power BI will know, right? So there are certain things. Yes, we need to address it. We need to rename the column if required. Okay, we know very well this date 1 is nothing but the date here, but the naming standard, they did not follow it correctly. Okay, so in that case, what will happen unnecessarily, right? You will be having redundant columns, but this column is not at all available here. In this data set, fine, and the week 2, we have oddly 5 records are there. If you have 10 million records are there, and if you append this data with that one, and whereas in this data set you don't have any column by the name of locations available, what will happen? For 1 million records or 10 million records, it will show null, 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 null. This is not the desired one. So what you do is, simple thing is, if you find the data set with these columns, you can check with your application owner. Okay, is it really required? And but again, if they ask you to generate a report wherein the location column is very much required, then you can ask them to give the location data also as per the second file. It is missing. Okay, so it is mandatory. You need to ask them. Okay, fine. Let's say they said my location is not required. You remove this, and date column is available, and date 1 is there here. Let us see what happens if I blindly do. So in that case, what will happen? You will have additional column. Okay, in the first file, let's see if I select the first file, week 1. Sorry, in the week 1, if I, what will happen? The week 2 data will get, will get appended just below this. If I combine this, if I use append option, in that case, what will happen is, okay, if I remove the location, here also 4 column, even in this case, 4 column is available in week 2 also. But the problem was week 2, the column name was date 1. Hence, we will end up having how many columns? We will be end up having 5 columns in our data set, which is not the preferred one. Okay, we will see what happens when I do combine append. Okay, I just go to the Power Query editor. In the Power Query editor, in the home ribbon, currently we are in Power Query editor. In the home ribbon, at the end, the right side corner, right, you will find append queries. Just click on the drop down here, append queries as new. There are two options are available. One is append queries and append queries as new. You always better, you select the append queries as new. I will tell you the reason why you need to select the second option. So here we have option. The default one is the 2 tables or 3 or more tables. If you have more than one file, you want to combine it, more than 2 files, then you can select this option. Week 1, week 2, if you have week 3, week 4, everything you click on it here. It will get, for example, if you select the add, the week 3 will get added here. And week 4, if you select it, and if you click on add, it will get added here. Since we have only 2 files are available, we go with the default option. Select which all files that you want to append, week 1 and week 2. I'm going to hit OK now. What will happen? A new query will get created. The new query got created as append 1. Can you see it here? So this is what the append 1. The new query got created. Like I said, let's say you see some additional columns than required. So what it is, for example, location also, we don't have complete data available, even the first file. And after you check with the application owner or so, they say no, location is not required, remove it, you remove it. But the problem was the date 1 and date, since the naming standard was not consistent. Power BI thinks that this column is different from this, hence we need to add additional column. But ideally, this column value should be made part of this one. What happened since in the second file the naming standard was not correct, it considers a new column, and the other to top it all, what happened for this first file, it ends here. Up to this, it puts null for this column. It creates something like a sparse matrix. Lot of null values. Okay, it is not preferred. So what is the way out? Ideally, we should have gone here and we should have renamed it as date. Press enter. I renamed the column from date 1 to date in the week 2 query. And then I just go to the append 1. I just see here product sales currency date. Now look here, automatically all the date 1 data got shifted to this column. We don't have to go here again. We don't have to append it. So whatever changes that you made it, that will get reflected here. But the caveat here is, in case you have any duplicate records, it will not show. It will not show. So how do I check any duplicate records are there? You need to select all the columns, each and every column, by holding the control key. You need to press the control key and then select all the columns that you needed, and then you release the key, control key. Now you see all the multi-select. This is how you can select more than one column. And then the next one is you just go to the view ribbon, and here, yes, all these data profiling options got enabled. And if you, not this one, okay, sorry, if you go to home ribbon, and if you see here, keep rows, you select this, keep duplicates. So if you select this, what will happen is, in case of any duplicated records are there, it will show only that one. Let us see what happens. I just selected keep duplicates. I can see, these many records were duplicated. Okay, duplicates were there. So in that case, what should I do? So this is my Canon, Nikon duplicates, append one. So some duplicate records were there. But if I remove this, what will happen? So in total, we have how many number of records? 19, excluding, 19 records are there. And then if you see the duplicates here, 10 records were duplicated. So now, if you go to the week 2 and see how many records are 5, and week 1 we have 14. 5 plus 14, 19 records are there. Okay, and week 2 we have 5 records are there. Now you understood why I have used this option, second append queries as new. After you append the data, if you wanted to cross verify how many records were there in this file, how many records were in this file. For example, here you have 15 records were there in the week 1, 14 records, and week 2 you have 5. Now you can add these two things. So 14 plus 5, 19 records supposed to be there. Now you go back to append 1, and then I just remove the keep duplicates, right? So 19 records are there. Good. Okay, are we have any duplicate records? It will not take into account which one the append. Even if you have duplicate records, it will simply append the data. It will not remove the duplicated records or duplicated values. Okay, in this case, yes, to check the duplicates, you select all the column, and then here you have an option called keep duplicates. With this, you can find out what are the records are. So 10 records are duplicate, almost the duplication of the same record. This is just a dummy data, but if you find it like this, what you do is you create a separate thing here and then go back here. What you do is from here you have 19 records, and from this, for example, you wanted to do further thing here. For example, okay, now you have done everything and date column is selected. I want to extract only year from this. You are doing some other step here. Okay, insert here. You extracted here. So here now we have 19 records are there. Okay, 19 records were there. So what we will do is we can move this up somewhere here also. Okay, and insert it here. Okay, there are some confusions happen. Yeah, remove columns here. You just select this one, and here you select here only. In total, we are supposed to have 19 records. But to share the duplicate record, let's say, your management wants to see the duplicate records. Can you show me which all records are? So for that sake, what we do is we keep duplicates. Just you can rename it also. Right click on it, rename it. Keep duplicate. You just rename it. And then what I do is I select inserted here, and then I just move after. But it is taking into the previous state. Keep duplicate records. It is use that record. So what we will do is in that case, I just inserted here. Okay, here in this, you need to rename this one. Okay, the location. Source. You just simply say this one as source. Now we got it back. So we have 19 records. And this is what we did here. We have included the year column. Okay. But, if the later point in time when they ask you, can you show me how many number of duplicate records? Right. So you can, this is a kind of, you are storing it somewhere. You can show them, hey, these were the record, duplicated record. And then what I did, I just took the source data again, and then edit. But if you sequentially do it, what will pick up the output of the previous row. From then onwards, it is doing that. Okay. For example, if I go to the view ribbon, and we have an option called advanced editor, whatever the steps that you carry out, that will get registered here, where in this advanced editor, all the steps. Source, first of all, what happens, it combines the data from these two files and then store it in a variable called source. And then you remove the columns location, find, see, next time onwards, what will happen is the next step will refer the previous steps variable only. In this case, what happened, we kept the duplicate records. We selected only the duplicate records here. So it is using some group or something like that to remove the duplicate records. Not remove the duplicate, to find out the duplicate records and store it here. Next step, what will happen is it is using the previous steps variable here. They keep duplicate records here. In that case, what will happen is the next step, whatever you carry out. For example, if you want to extract only the year, it will go ahead, extract the year only from this data set. With this data set have only the duplicated records. We don't want to pick up from this. Is only for management to justify later pointer how many number of duplicate records with that. But this step is not required here. We need the original data back here. So, but let us have the duplicate records. The source already we have duplicate. Let it be there. Still, I want to continue, and then you can extract the year from this step. Which step? The source. From the source itself, I'm going to add the new column by the name of date, and then we'll extract the year from this one, and then we remove the column location. Now you understood? So this is how you can modify your Power Query script also logically. But what happens is, in reality, the previous steps output, for him, the previous step is line number 4. The previous steps output, it will pick up, and then it will do it will apply this step. But here, whatever the previous step output gets stored here. Keep duplicate record. That one will pick up here. We don't want this step should pick up the output from here. Instead, you take the entire data again, and then this is for the management. If they say no, let it be that is not a duplicate record, then you can leave it. Okay, and then I don't need this column. Okay, we removed it. Very good. So what you need to remember here is append will not remove the duplicate records on its own. You need to find out after the append is over, you need to find out. Apart from this, you need to check or all the records got combined from both the files. For that purpose only, I have used this option, append queries as new. If I use append queries, what will happen? It will, these two files with queries will get combined. Finally, you will see only append one, the week 1, week 2 queries will not be there. It will be removed. Okay. If that gets removed, how will you check how many number of records were there here, how many number of records were here after you did the append? To check the total number of records, all the records from both the queries got appended correctly or not, you need to go and check how many number of records were there here and here, right? So for that, temporarily, we will leave it as it is. Once you check, okay, 19 records, year 15, and sorry, year 14, year 5 records, 14 plus 5, 19 records got included successfully, and also the date one column got added and we renamed it. Now all the issues got sorted out. So this append one have all the required columns in it. With this, if I go and build the report, it makes sense. Okay, it doesn't have any issues in it. So now what I do is make sure that week 1 and week 2 is any longer required. You just right click on it here. You have an option called enable load. By default, it have got selected. You just unselect it. You just unselect it. It will look at possible detail. Disabling load will remove the table from the report. Okay, fine, let it where can, because we don't need it any longer. And similarly, week 2, you select it and then you unselect the enable load and continue. And if you go to the append one, fine. So this one will not get loaded. This one got, when you select file, close and apply, this will not get applied. Okay, this it's kind of, you remove the data set. That is, but the advantage here, later point in time, you want to reuse it, right click on it and click on enable load, it will work. Okay, but still you can see the data, whatever the data that are available. But when you apply, close and apply, this will not get refreshed. Look here, what is happening. I just close it. Look, append one, still it is happening, append one, and but first time, it'll do it. Next time onwards, if you refresh it, only append one. Append one, okay, I think I enabled it again. This one you can ignore it, VRS. This one I already discussed in the previous session. How many of you worked on that? The addressing the errors. Okay, now what I do is I just you go to the Power Query Editor, apply changes. Select transform data. This is your Power Query Editor. You forget about this one because this one is nowhere related. And here append one. Yeah, append one is correct only because look here, week 1, week 2 was not refreshed. I was still thinking that append one and week 1, week 2 did not refresh. When I clicked on refresh, when I applied the file and close, when I selected the file and close, the week 1, week 2 was not refreshed. That is the point you need to remember it. Okay, we are done with the append. Okay, what are the prerequisites in the case of append? So though Power BI adds simply append the data from more than one file, it is our responsibility to check each and every file, the column order is correct and the naming standard is correct. Even in the case of the column orders are not same in the files. For example, in here, look here, if you see here, let's say in the first file you have product sales currency is there, and second file you have currency sales product is there, second file. Even though the column orders are not same, it takes care of it automatically in the latest version. The previous older version, the column orders also matters. The number of columns from both the files should be same, but here, you don't have that limitations. The number of columns need not to be same across the files, and the column orders also doesn't matter. Supposing in your second data file, the first column was currency, what happens? It goes and checks currency is there here, but in the first file where the currency column is there, this column data should get appended under currency. It is taking care of automatically. So number of columns doesn't matter, and the column order doesn't matter when you append the data from multiple files, but only thing the data types matter. For example, the second file, the sales column value, whatever the values that you have in sales column was text data. When you append the text into the number type, what will happen is it will throw an error. Okay, so you need to make sure that data type should be same and the column names ideally it should be same. Okay, that's all. If you remember this, you're all set to go ahead with the append, but still you need to, once the data get appended, you need to check do we have any duplicate records or not. Okay, this wraps up the append part. Hope you understood what is append, the advantages of append, and what are the limitations. It cannot check the duplicate records once you append the data, and make sure that column names are same so that you can avoid duplicate or redundant columns in your data set. And once you load the data, append the data, check the duplicates. Are there any duplicates are there?